It's 2017, and manufacturing and industrial companies they've known for a while that they've needed to look at transitioning a little bit from traditional over to digital marketing. So, well, in today's video, we want to talk a little bit about why making that transition to digital marketing is so critical and why it's critical to do it now. I'm Danny Gonzalez.
And I'm Judson Voss.
And this is IndustrialSage. Why digital marketing? Why now? So before we jump into answering that question, I think it's really important to really look at digital marketing and sort of define it and figure out what is that, because there's a couple different definitions and a couple different things that people might go to. So I'm going to pose that to you, Judson. If you really wanted to kind of break it down, what would you consider digital marketing?
It's everything, actually. And that's sort of a hokey way of saying it, but it's the truth. I mean, anything that's conveyed through digital channels is digital marketing. People are going to argue over SEO, PPC, SEM, that type of thing, versus content marketing, versus doing display ads, all different things. But to me, anything that can be run across the digital channel, and more importantly, anything that can be measured is something that I think is key for digital marketing. I think where people maybe get tripped up is the idea that one, everything is needed by them, or two, I only need to do this one thing and that's all I need to do. You hear folks talk about inbound marketing and they're like, inbound is all content marketing, content. We don't need to do ads, that's something totally different. And I think that may or may not be a good thing, but looking at it that way without proof and analysis, that's probably where people get tripped up the most. So it's a broad range of things, and what works is dependent on the situation.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, here, it's kind of funny because I admittedly, definitely get a little confused sometimes when you hear, content marketing and digital marketing and integrated marketing, and all these different things, and I feel like they have there's a lot of overlap, and sometimes they kind of fall in the same camp. But I guess if we look at it, maybe there's a couple different areas we might be able to break down in there. So you mentioned one before, so like SEO, SEM, PPC, that kind of thing. So. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess maybe we take a step back first too and say, we're really trying to look at the B2B market. And even farther down, we're looking at manufacturing and industrial, which is sort of, in a sense, a fancy way of saying we're marketing to engineers. Or maybe they're not engineers today, but they had that upbringing too. So we need to look at it that way, because when we start talking about SEO and SEM and PPC, it's sort of, you start to look at it and say, okay, I'm thinking about it from a B2C standpoint, and I'm going to plug all this money into hitting this huge market in the United States, and that may not be what we're trying to go for. So I think you use that backdrop of, I have a technical industrial product or service that I'm selling to people that need knowledge and information about the value it's providing to them. And start there before you look at the channel.
That makes a lot of sense there. It's funny too. You bring up the whole when we talk about PPC, for example, or pay-per-click, if you're not familiar with that, with like a Google AdWords campaign, but how that really differs from B2C versus B2B. I mean, with B2C, it's much more widely used and known, and I think. In most cases, a lot more effective than you would see in a B2B case. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
I agree, and I think it takes testing. So I'm just going to use this one example. We don't have to do a whole show about SEO and PPC today. But I had a campaign that we were doing, trying to hit the entire market in the whole world. It was 4,500 people.
Okay.
So we knew who the target was, and there was 4,500 folks out there that were interested in this product or had the capability to buy. They were qualified targets. And so the folks that started it wanted to do an AdWords campaign, which I was glad to do. Did the keyword planner and everything, put it together. Well, when you have 4,500 people, the odds of them searching on Google on a regular basis for the product that we were selling is really close to zero. And we proved it out very well by having a big budget and almost no traffic to it, with the exception of some things that leaked in from the side from a kid doing a paper somewhere or something like that.
Well, and there's a key thing that I'd like to kind of circle back on, maybe a little bit. I'll drop a little nugget in right now. You mentioned though that, okay, you found that out though, but you found that out, okay, sure. So a lot of money was spent on it from a budget standpoint, but a big difference between traditional versus digital is that you were able to actually track that and say, okay, this didn't work.
Yeah.
So we're able to find things that do work and the things that don't. So anyways, like I said, I'll kind of package that up. We'll get into that here in just a little bit more. But I
think you make a great point. I mean, when we talk about what is digital marketing, it's something you can measure. And that's a key piece of it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest, one of the biggest pieces, and we can transition here a little bit into really some of those similarities and those differences between maybe traditional sense and digital. Look, I don't think, and this is my personal perspective, I don't think that these brands need to say, okay, we need to completely screw traditional and no more print, no more nothing. It's completely dead. It's just that digital gives a lot more opportunity to be able to measure and be able to track results, unlike a print ad campaign. I mean, let's say you put an ad in a trade magazine, for example. Unless if you have a specific phone number or a landing page or something there that is very unique that you're driving traffic back to, which would be digital at that point. It's very, very difficult to figure out. Hey, we just spent, I don't know, 20 grand on this thing, and what are we getting at it? Look, there's a smart play just in terms of brand awareness and all that. But if you're really trying to hone in and measure conversion rates, and you're really trying to look at and see from a revenue perspective, is this really actually moving the needle? Digital marketing makes a whole lot of sense there. So
right, and I agree with what you said too. You're not trashing traditional. As a matter of fact, a lot of times what we start with, we're talking manufacturing industrial companies, and why digital marketing? Why now? In general, we're about 5 years behind some of the consumer brand type of companies. That's just how it's always been. They're usually 5 years behind from a marketing sense. But we've been doing traditional marketing for a really long time, and certain pieces of it work. The ones that we can't track, and I agree, the things like the print ads, what are we getting out of that? Trade shows, we should be able to track that better, even if we don't, but that's not that it's not possible. We just, aren't taking the time to do it. But we have data that says, here's what works with our customers, here's what resonates with our customers. So when we go to digital, I would avoid trashing all of that information we've learned.
Sure.
And a lot of times the quick first way to get your toe in is say what works traditionally and just copy it over to digital. We do that on sales enablement all the time. Go talk to the sales team. What do they do? What is their cadence, and what information do they give out? What do they say? What's the messaging? And instead of reinventing the wheel, we just take that and put it in a measurable format on the digital side.
Exactly. No, and that makes all the sense in the world. So I had a question that I wanted to pose, but I think we've kind of answered a little bit, and that's just completely going away versus saying no. There's tremendous opportunity to be able to blend both of those. I mean, we're seeing, I saw a report the other day talking about direct mail, for example, which a lot would have considered dead for a while, but it's starting to come back. Why? Because maybe even on the digital sense, from an email marketing standpoint, sometimes if you look at your email inbox, like, oh my gosh, I'm just getting completely destroyed by all these unsolicited emails, kind of like unsolicited mail that you used to get in your mailbox. And we're starting to see a little bit more of like direct mail coming back, where you're really having an omni-channel approach, where there's a digital piece and then there's that direct mail, and starting to see those two work together to get some better results. So
just smarter. So when I got started doing marketing in general, I used to go out looking for people that needed to sell a house, and I would use what they called bubble mail at the time, or bulky mail. And so the idea was it had an envelope, but it had something inside of it that made it stick up a little bit and made you say, ooh, I should check that out. The problem was it was a spray approach. I took everybody in that zip code and mailed to them. What digital has allowed us to do now is think about the steps you go through, like in your sales cadence, and the sales folks say, when they finally get to this point, they've answered these questions, I think they've got a 70% chance of buying. What digital allows us to do on the hard print side is to say, okay, we think that's the person that it's worth spending money on. So instead of saying, I've got $2 a person to hit everybody in a zip code, I've got $30 to hit the right person now, and we can send out personal mail to that person. We've seen some of those products that work really well, where they have a box and it's personalized with the person inside the box, but it's a one-off print. It's like, okay, you tripped this wire in our sales process, now you get this thing sent to you automatically.
So what I'm really hearing here, two principal differences really between that traditional and digital. One would be the ROI ability, the ability that you can track it and you can really see what is working well. And then also the ability to really hyper target a little bit better. So in your example there, the spray and pray method versus saying, no, we're going to be really laser focused on this is the profile and who we want to focus on, and let's get there. A little bit of a blanket statement there, but
you're right. And there's a bunch of other things, but those are there's two big pieces that are there.
Absolutely. Okay. I wanted to circle back on some of the other different kind of types of digital marketing you might hear out there and just kind of talk about them. So we talked a little bit about the SEO, PPC, and we kind of went a little bit on a rabbit trail. But I want to talk a little bit about more content marketing and how that might fit into that. Like when digital marketing, you've got lead gen tactics and lead nurturing and maybe marketing automation and sales enablement. But then you hear like this content marketing thing pop up. How does that fit into all this?
I think a lot of times what people do is they will get confused to think these are separate things, and they're different pieces of the process. So to me, I think of content marketing as sort of the meat and potatoes behind lead generation. So you have to find the people, which means either you advertise or you have lists or you go to trade shows or you go to meetings and hand out your business card, whatever it is to get the people there. But then you need the carrot and you need information for them. And I think content marketing sort of works in two ways. One is content marketing lets you tell people about your product, which is important. But more importantly, it lets you educate people about the importance of the solution. So one example I use, we always, when we do email campaigns, we say the first thing we talk about the solution, not our product, but you have this problem and there is a solution out there, and there might be 30 products that solve it. We aren't getting into our product yet, but we talk about the 30, maybe not by name, but content allows people to get educated about the market, because so much, especially in manufacturing and industrial and where engineers are looking for a product, if an engineer is looking for a product, they're not looking for the cheapest product. They aren't looking to say, I'm using product A today, maybe I should go to product B. They're saying, I'm trying to figure out if there's a product out there or service that's going to help me, that's going to help save us money, whatever it is. So content marketing is sort of that channel, that funnel to bring people in, to educate them in there.
So it's really, if I'm hearing it, if you think about it, like, and I'm going to put this connection here together. You think of Google, right? What would be maybe the one word that describes them really? I mean, there's probably a lot of words, but the thing that comes to my mind is relevancy. That's really the key there. And
I was thinking overvalued on the stock market.
there you go.
Never getting sponsored by
Somebody's
Google.
Invested there, but anyway, no. Relevancy, and it's really making sure that the content out there is not, you're not selling stuff. I mean, you are, but you're not saying, hey, buy our greatest and latest product. This is amazing, and it can do X, Y, and Z, and it's awesome. The greatest thing since sliced bread. What it is saying, hey, look, we understand that you have a challenge, and here's some solutions around that, and it providing that relevant information that makes a prospect or leads. Oh, wow, I want more of this, because man, this is a problem that we have, and you guys have a solution. This is great, So
B2B customer, they're not buying it because it looks cool sitting on the shelf. They're buying it because it fixes a problem, it saves them money, it does whatever they need it to do, and so the content allows us to explain what that's all about.
Excellent. No, perfect. The next thing, and this connects right into that. To that content marketing piece is marketing automation. That's a big thing. We're hearing about that, all the time. Greatest thing since sliced bread. We're hearing about all kinds of brands. Yeah, we need to get your part out of your HubSpot, and we need to connect it into Salesforce, and it's amazing. But how does that fit into all this?
So we're talking about the content being the channel. So you went and you had your leads, you found them, you got them interested with the content, and the marketing automation allows us, as you keep saying, measure what's going on. So that's a big piece, is having automation software that allows you to measure what's happening. And the other one is to sort of guide them through a process, and not the process you want to guide them through, but as they go through their own learning process, as they go through your funnel, as they do this versus that, it allows them to go down different rabbit holes and to really start to build that sales cadence. If you have a sales team, inside, outside, whatever sales team, or if you're just doing email and that type of thing, it allows you to build up that automation. And one of the cool things about marketing automation, to me, on the digital side, is today, I'm going to say today it doesn't learn. going to say next year with AI and that kind of thing, it probably will learn. It'll probably say, these many people clicked on this link and they did this later, so it'll automatically change your automation funnel. But today, it allows you to at least to look at the data and say, okay, I know the people that bought from us went down this road, the people that didn't buy from us went down this road, and all the intricacies that go along with it. So it's software that helps you there. This is just my personal opinion. Sure. One thing I would watch out for, though, is there's lots of marketing automation software out there. They probably all work. But find one you're comfortable with and don't overcomplicate it. Don't start off on day one with this idea that you need this marketing stack this big and I need these 40 tools. Start with something and actually use it. That's where you probably need to start off. That's where a lot of folks get tripped up, is they will think, I need this huge thing. I need to have this decision flow that's got 60 different forks on it and everything like that. Just figure out how to use the software and use it.
I think I'm sensing another video that might have to talk about.
That might be like 12 videos.
Yeah, there's a whole lot there. Totally get it. Okay, so that makes sense. So kind of look at it. I mean, digital marketing in general, there's a lot of different things in there, from lead gen to lead nurturing, where SEO and PPC, SEM, that kind of thing fits into that lead gen piece. I would maybe put that content marketing into some of that lead nurturing and a little bit that lead gen piece as well, to attract and kind of get them into your funnel, and then once you have in your funnel, just keep them engaged. But then really having that marketing automation, that piece that kind of helps to deliver all that and measure it, and then be able to kick out automated messaging based on behaviors that people take on your website and different pieces of content. And then the sales enablement piece, being able to have actionable data and information based off of what your users are doing on your website or with your content, so that your sales team and your marketing team can have the data and the information that they need to be able to react and produce better content, or have more information to be able to follow up better with a prospect or a customer, and go from there. So is that kind of...
I think that hits the full cycle. Yeah, that enablement's the last, I hate to say the last piece, but it's the last piece that comes in, that's is syncing up the sales team and the marketing team, because in general, B2B products, let's say we sell a product, it takes 18 months to sell.
Long
it costs $150,000 exactly.
Right.
We're not throwing up a website and somebody's going to go there and put their credit card information in.
Darn.
So the sales team needs to be interlocked with the marketing team and really make it work. And a really good enablement process makes life easier on the sales team and makes the marketing team more effective to make life easier on the sales team.
So you're telling me that sales and marketing should really be aligned. Is that what I'm hearing?
A little bit.
Okay, just a little bit. All right. Again, another video, I'm thinking.
Yeah, at least
maybe
should be a short cage match if they are totally aligned.
Excellent. So, this is all great. So we talked about the digital marketing, the changes, or the similarities and the differences. But I think the last question here is really, okay, great. Maybe we understand. Yes, we should be doing digital marketing. We listed out a lot of reasons. Why is it critical to do it right now?
Because your competition is.
Yeah, that's a compelling one.
You'd be amazed by how many situations where you have manufacturing companies, and I know there's people that are watching today, this is going to resonate with them, that they are the 500-pound gorilla in the room when it comes to market share, and they've got these other 10 competitors that only own 20% of the market total. They're doing a much better job of digital marketing than they are. And if somebody's in that position today, that's not unusual. You shouldn't feel bad about it at all. But certainly isn't a reason not to get started today. And I think the reason now is because that's what people expect.
That's true.
Well, I'm trying to remember the stat. I believe it was 97% of B2B buyers Google the solution first. That's how they start their sales process.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and if you're not there, and somebody else is, you're pretty far behind at that point.
And you may have the best product out there that really serves the need, but if you can't be found,
yeah, and we do customer analysis, win-loss analysis with customers or people that didn't become customers of clients, and ask that question. How'd you find us? What's the process you went through? And I've had people come back and say that even the ones that were wins, that they closed the deal, they're like, your client was really bad at this. The only reason we went with them is because we knew they were the best, and so we really dug to find more information about that. But you shouldn't put a customer through that process.
And not making it easy for them, huh?
No. You should be at least as good as your competition. But I mean, to me, that's the reason now, is because other people are doing it, but other people are doing trade shows. And I'm not saying you need to do a trade show. So that's not the best logic. But the other piece of it, which is this is how people interact in the world today, that is a good reason to do it.
That makes sense, and to do it now. And I'd also put on maybe too urgency on there, because digital marketing isn't something. It's not a light switch that you turn on and all of a sudden, boom, everything's working and it's amazing and it's great. I mean, certainly there are some tactics and things that you can do that you may feel like you're getting those results and doing that well, but the truth of the matter is that it really takes time to develop these campaigns, to really get them in the right process, to do the proper research to get it going, and it takes time.
Yeah.
So, if you want something to be fully fledged, moving, and you got a really well-oiled machine, it's going to take 6 to 12 to 24 months. And not to mention on that, but you also have long sales cycles. That's the other piece too now. Yeah. And I know for a fact that a lot of manufacturing industrial clients, one of the big areas, they've got leaky pipes. And so you go to a trade show, for example, and you come back with all these leads, and you're going to follow up on the top, let's say 10% that are really qualified, they're ready to buy, but the rest of them,
according to the salesperson.
Exactly.
There's no data behind that.
This is true.
Yeah.
But what happens to the rest of them? The vast majority, guess what? There's a list, maybe an Excel spreadsheet in Judy's desk, and we love Judy, but Judy's not here anymore. Or 6 months later, hey, where's that list? I don't know. Yeah. So these systems are built to be able to help to continue to nurture and to be able to continue to have a conversation with them, so that you don't fall through the cracks later, 18 months down the road when they're ready to buy. Yeah. So
salespeople know that the average person needs at least 3 touches to become interested in your product or working with you. And this is the same true here. Just with digital marketing, you use the trade show example. Okay, I've got 80 leads, and I've decided that 10 of those are good leads, and I follow up with them. It's not because I'm lazy. It's because that's how much time I have available, and so I'm just being productive. Well, digital marketing lets us hit the other 90% by giving them touches to see if they can make it into that top 10%. It's worth the time for the salesperson to follow up.
Great point. I mean, case in point, we had a client that they work with a lot of distributors, and they're only able there are a lot of them, so they focus on the big boys, but the vast majority of them they're not able to get to, so that maybe there's a sales rep that goes and talks to them maybe once a year,
right?
And that's it. So the beauty of this with digital marketing is you're able to have continue on that conversation on an ongoing basis without having to physically have a sales guy in the field going out there, because there's only so much time that you have to be able to go and do that. So anyways, that's one great thing. So to recap, I think these are some great compelling reasons why you need to transition over to digital marketing, and really why now. So I think that we've had a pretty good discussion here, and if there's any information here that you'd like to learn more about, if there's maybe some topics that you'd like to hear about, please write into us, IndustrialSage.com/questions. We'll be answering your questions and rolling that into the content that we have here. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe. We have this on iTunes. If you like podcasts, you'll be hearing that there. We're on YouTube, and we've got email and a lot of other areas. So anyways, if you see somewhere, subscribe, do the things, and join us. And join us next week as we tackle another topic on Industrial Sage. And thanks for watching.